Greetings, everyone. Yes, thank you so much. I feel like we are all bright minds here. We are all smart people, and we are people of people, because you can't be an entrepreneur if you're not a people's person. So, when I say hello, I would like all of you to enthusiastically greet us back and welcome yourselves into the tribe. For you first-comers, welcome. For those who are here, let's exude the energy that we normally have. So, one last time. Greetings, everyone. Yes, thank you. So, as we said, welcome to the tribe. Welcome to the soft grind. And, well, for those of you who's the first time you are here, believe us, this is not where we started only, 3 months ago. 3 months ago, it was just a group of people sitting around the tables here talking about entrepreneurial stuff. And I guess someone saw something in us, and then they said, let's take this one level higher. So now we have this, an entire stage, panels and name tags and cameras and drinks and food. How beautiful is it? After a long day of work, now we are here. Wonderful. That's the spirit. That is the spirit. So, hi everyone. My name is Mpendulo Magubane. I am your host for the evening, but hosting us is Mr. Letlhogonolo and his beautiful establishment here at the Soft Grind. So please cheers for him, allowing the space, allowing us to just come together as bright minds and share ideas, because if you guys saw the poster, we are here. It's real founders having real businesses and talking about real things that affect us as business people. So one of the biggest things that we normally face when we come here is the idea of, do I fit in? When you look around, you see people wearing their suits, you see others wearing their glasses, looking all smart, and you thinking, dude, well, what I have to say really land where it needs to. But the one thing that you must understand is that we are here to learn. We are here to teach, we are here to absorb, and also we are here to give. So do not feel like you are an imposter, because the mere fact that you have a name tag that is printed and has a design on it means that you are a person of worth, and everything that you have to say and all the inputs that you will have to put tonight will land on fertile soil. So, welcome to the tribe, ladies and gentlemen, and we hope that the experience that you will get is one that will make you want to come here over and over and over again. So, thank you so much for your attendance. And for the first time, we have partnered with one of our beautiful, beautiful entrepreneurs, Mr. Mitchan Adams, the owner of Aions Creative Technology. His network of connects has made this a possibility. So please, big cheers for Mr. Mitchan Adams. Thank you so much. If you guys have ever booked tickets online and you're looking for ways to pay, there's this one that's called Ozo. Ozo, he's the man who co-founded it. So we're not just talking about any person here. He's a man of serious prominence and now owns Aions, who are our proud sponsors and partners for the tribe. And he's not alone, of course. There's this wonderful, humorous gentleman here, Mr. David Weideman. He is also a co-founder of his company, The Alternative Board. And he has also come on board on the tribe so that he can share his expertise, share his journey, and hopefully inspire the new breed of entrepreneurs who are all of us here today, even myself included, so that we can take our businesses from this level into a high level. And I'm pretty tall, so that's a high level. Best believe me. So that's what we are here for, to take you from where you are to the next level. And this is basically encapsulates the theme that we are carrying here today. How do you take your business from being a hobby, from being a side gig, from being something that is an afterthought after work, and take the plunge and the leap to say, I will make this my own thing, and this will be what feeds me every single night. I will go all in, and I will make this my thing. That is the question we are tackling here today. And no better people than Mr. David Weideman, Mr. Mitchan Adams, and the very owner of this establishment, Mr. Letlhogonolo Motsuenyane, to show how these can happen. And best believe we will be getting your inputs as well, because you too, as you are seated here, might have a journey, might have something that we can learn from and everyone else in the room can learn from. So, without any further ado, I'd like to present what will happen in this night. Who's the first timer on the tribe? Just by a show of hands. Yes! Welcome. Welcome to the tribe. Yes. Welcome, 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 welcome. You are in safe hands. You're in a safe crew. And what we discussed last meeting was, how do you pitch your business? How do you meet a group of investors and say, my business is A, B, C, we do D, E, F to get X, Y, Z. And then they say, take our money and make your business your own. We discussed this in we just touched it and scraped the surface. So one of the things that we are proud to bring you here today are two businesses in partnership with Aions Creative Technology, who will be taking their time and expertise to pitch their business to you. So this is a good opportunity for you who is a budding entrepreneur, or you who is an established entrepreneur looking to get more capital and more people working with your business and getting their buy-in. So trust me, there are very few people better than Mr. Mitch in doing what we are about to show you. So having a company under his wing doing this is something that will totally be us to wait on and, well, devour in. So our venture capitalist is Mr. Mitch, and our pitchers will come through and they will present themselves, let them know who they are, what they do, and then pitch it to you. Then once we're done, we will open the floor to a Q&A with our pitchers, just get into their minds a little bit, you know, just pick their brains. And then once we are done with that, we will start picking the brains of our panelists here. Look at them sitting all serious and stuff. Might as well be a TV show. So that will be the second step, and we'll be discussing everything from the pragmatic side of starting your business, the negotiating skills of your business, getting your business exposed, making sure that your business is aligned with who you are. And then we'll go into the deeper things, the deeper side of stuff. When things are down, how you raise yourself up. When the room seems to be dark, how do you become the light in that room so that people can listen to what you have to say? So those are all the things we'll be talking about. And we hope at the end of this event, you'll be, well, one step closer to taking your business and making it that extra better with the tribe. So thank you once more for coming through. And one more time, please, a round of applause for your attendance. Let's get the energy up. Let's get our pitchers ready. Let's make sure that they are not scared. Let them come and own the stage. So first and foremost, we already have the signal here, Tubby's Kitchen. This is a very interesting sign, but I'll say nothing about it. So I will allow her to come through and take the stage for our first pitcher. So please, big round of applause. They will introduce themselves, the Lawrences. And you guys have the stage.
Thank you. Thank you very much. How is everyone? I practically want to kill Mitchan for getting us up here very first. It would have been good to know. This is Dylan. My name is Heidene. Who would have thought that we'd be standing here pitching for marijuana? Hey? How far has the world come? Marijuana, people. Hey? Is that better? Okay. So, wanneer laat het iemand 'n bietjie 'n sol gerook? It's been a while, eh? Well, for me anyway. So I'm going to try and cover as much questions there. So Tubby's was started for a very specific reason. A while ago, I got very ill, and I needed to find some. Can you hear the nerves? Hey, so just give me some time, and I'll find my pace. Give me some time, and I'll find my pace. Okay. So I got very ill, and I needed to find something that was going to make me better. Okay. And everybody said, you've got to try cannabis. And I thought, cannabis I did when I was young. I'm too old for this stuff now, man. And Dillan, he's my son. And he said, Mom, just give it a shot, okay? And I was having seizures and seizures and seizures. I'm an epileptic, a very successful epileptic. And very successful epileptic. And the one day we got so high on a cup of tea that I made, okay? And I was so high, he actually turned into, I got him to bury a bird for me, and the bird was called Sir Fly a Lot. But then we realized that with burying all of, not burying the birds, with drinking all of this tea, that my seizures started decreasing. Okay? And as I started taking more of this tea, then it was a matter of what is going to happen when all of these seizures end. What am I going to do with my life? Because I was a very successful woman. I was a very successful consultant. I had a good job. I had a house. I had a car. I could drive. But after 3 years of being sick, how do you start your life again? You know? You can't turn trauma into a trophy. That's not how you continue your life. So I needed to find something to build a life with. And as I started doing more research on cannabis, I realized that it's a market that's growing in the US, and it's a market that's going to grow in South Africa. And at that time, I still couldn't, because of all of the seizures and the damage that I had, I couldn't walk properly and I couldn't read properly, and I could stitch tea bags with cloth. So I started stitching tea bags, and I started making tea with those tea bags. And it slowly started developing, okay? And I started making tea bags and researching it. And I thought, I'm either going to pray to God for money, or I'm going to pray to him for an idea. So he gave me the idea to start making cannabis tea. So it was going to be one or the other. And I started researching what cannabis can do in South Africa, and that's why we have Tubby's Kitchen now, and we can make a business. So that's where we stand, and that's how we're entering the market. So that's the background, and I hope that covers your what, why, and the story behind it, okay? That's where Tubby's has started from. So it wasn't just the wake up one morning, here we go, we've got an idea, there's purpose in it, there's meaning in it, and I know that it makes a difference in people's lives. I know that it works. Nobody's going to tell me it doesn't work. As nie net daga nie. Okay, the stuff works. So it's taken quite some time to get here. I was hounding Mitchan for, I think, more than 1.5 years, calling him, Mitchan, I've got this fantastic idea. And he kept on saying, Heidene, I'm going to be there with you, just give me some time. And he is a man of absolute integrity. He hasn't left my side. He was busy with what it is that he was busy with, and he has eventually stepped in. So now that the nerves have left a little bit, maybe I can do the pitch now, right? Is everybody ready? Okay. Okay. So what do we do? So what is the vision? The vision is to get everybody to live a healthy cannabis lifestyle, okay? So what we want to do ultimately is, because cannabis is, there's so much cannabis oil on the market. Everybody knows the drops, okay? So we decided to approach it from a different perspective, okay? Our mission is, and our vision is, to create a healthy, living CBD lifestyle with infused flavors. So we've got a solution-based approach to what cannabis should be, okay? It's not just a matter of put a couple of oil drops down your tongue and that's it. We want it to be a fun experience for everybody. You have it in your cooking, it's microdosed all the time. And what do we mean when we say microdosing? We say that you make it a part of what's in your kitchen all the time. You fill your cupboards with it. We've got a range of teas, we've got a range of spices, we have a range of paste. We're planning on creating flour, and we're planning on creating sugars with it. So it becomes an entire stock cupboard for everybody. And ultimately, we plan on making it affordable, okay? That's what it boils down to. It's also, what they've reported, the last report that's come out is that in South Africa, the cannabis market is going to be worth 27 billion by 2028, okay? And we haven't even scratched the top of that market yet. It is the place to go just because of jobs. It's the place to go for recruitment. It's the place to go for. There's just so many fields that we need to capture. We have done so much research for it that we're ready to move in terms of where we need to be located as far as the business is concerned. And is there anything?
No,
Is there any questions anybody would like to say to me? Please bear in mind, this is the first time I've been on a stage in 7 years, so please feel free to rather throw me with questions. Yes?
Yeah, you said you're going to try and make it affordable. I'm very interested in that. So it's not affordable now.
Well, currently, it depends on how you look at it. Because it's a highly competitive product, okay? So, for example, you will get our products, our teas, for example, okay? And there's, Clint, just pass me that over there, please. Thank you. So our teas, for example, there's 15 tea bags in here. So our teas are made from loose leaf tea and it's bagged, okay? You don't find bagged loose leaf tea. It's usually just loose in there. So that's what gives us the unique edge, okay? Our product, thank you for the question. Our teas and our spices, it's the first in the range in South Africa. Thanks, man. We're the first ones to have spices in South Africa. We're the first ones to have CBD paste in South Africa. It's bagged. Open the lid here, please, son. We also have taken affirmations and placed it on the teas here. Each one says, I am kind. Each one has an affirmation. The Little Healer says, I am worthy. The idea is also for you, when you have a cup of tea, to stop for a second and say, give yourself an affirmation that says, I am worthy. So you know where it is that you're coming from for the day. You just sit down and have a rest to understand what it is that your body needs so that you heal and your soul feels it, So it's an encompassing emotion that it puts you through. You see to your mind, your body, and your soul. That's what it is that we are trying to accomplish. The same with the exact same with your spices, and your chilies. It's about encompassing your mind, body, and your soul all at the same time. So your teas, there's 15 in there. It's selling for 250 Rand, and then you get the others on the market. Similar concept, where there's 10 in there for 250 Rand. So we pretty much market.
I think
Apologies. I hate being the party pooper. I hate it so much, but I have to be the party pooper.
Yes, please.
Just this much to ensure the smooth running of our entire conversation. Right. So, I will kindly ask, because my mic has just stopped for a while, I will kindly ask that the questions that you have, either jot them down on your phone,
Okay.
and just keep them so that once both pitches have finished, and then once our people have discussed here, because they might inadvertently answer your questions that you might have. Now I'm audible. So, just in case, they might have the answers to your questions. We ask that when we have our Q&A session after the chats have been done, we will have our presenters now answer the questions alongside with our panelists, so they too become a part of the panel as well. So it just entices and increases our discussion. So may I please ask so kindly for that to happen? Are there any objections to the request? No request. Beautiful. You may forever hold your peace. And with our beautiful mother and son couple, thank you so much for Tubby's Kitchen. We will hear more about Tubby's Kitchen later on in the night. Thank you so much.
I loved the question, by the way. It gave me some fuma there, so much appreciated.
And it's just the role of the party pooper, man. You know, we even killed the Vuma. So big round of applause to Tubby's Kitchen, because I know if I had to go, because my mom was sick last 2020, close to passing on, and I know that if I said, Mom, try a joint, here's some CBD oil, she would have really woken up at that moment in time just to give me a good clap, forget that she's sick, and then go back to her deathbed. But she's all good now, and it's lovely to see innovation coming through and changing the thing that we know and that's so stigmatized, and making it real and actually saving lives with it. So another big round of applause for Tubby's Kitchen. Thank you. Please. And for an exhilarating experience and just having a different kind of tea, maybe try out their products. It might, well, release some of your juices. So that's our first picture, Tubby's Kitchen, taking you throughout the entire journey of where they came from and what they had to look at. So we'll have more of those questions later on. But for now, we move on to our second picture. We have 5 minutes per picture, which is something I gravely missed as I was pointing it out. So our next picture will also have 5 minutes to present themselves and present their business. You too listen, have the questions that you have, and then we will answer them at the end of the discussion. Am I correct when I say the next picture is Fezile? Beautiful. Our next picture, Fezile, please stand up and come take the mic and present to the tribe. Yes, Mr. Dhlamini, here he comes. So, another big round of applause for Mr. Fezile Dhlamini, who's going to pitch his business to the tribe. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Hey guys, so my name is Fezile. I'm a founder of an automotive company. We design, we build, we assemble electric vehicles. But a little backtrack on my story is I never thought I'd be in the automotive space, manufacturing EVs. They're actually three-wheelers. It's like a tuk-tuk that went to private school. So when I got into that space, it has actually been 6 years and 4 months right now. When I started off with a piece of paper, an idea. It was on the 28th of December, 2015. And the problem that I saw was first mile and last mile transportation. If you don't know what the concept is, I'll tell you. So you know like how you wake up in the morning, you get ready for work. You step out your gate if you don't have a car. You'll walk to your nearest bus stop, train station or taxi rank. And then you'll get onto your bus or your taxi. That's going to be your mid-mile. Then your mid-mile gets you to your next destination. Then you take your last trip to get to the office. Right? So that's first mile, mid-mile, and last mile. So my issue has always been first mile and last mile, especially at the time when I saw that no one was actually taking care of this particular market. And even if you tried to use an Uber or Bolt or Taxify at the time, or a meter cab, you're paying an arm and a leg for a trip that was like literally 3 to 5 kilometers. So it dawned on me that I was in Richards Bay at the time, and Richards Bay is hot as hell. So when you're in this hot environment, the only thing you can think about is the sun. So it just made sense. Electric. So fast forward years trying to now piece this thing together. So in between, I was working 9 to 5. I only lasted in a 9 to 5 for like a year and 9 months. Got tired and bored of it because, I just shot up the corporate ladder very quickly, and the fun was done. And then, cool. And then cool. So now 2018. 2018, I'm knocking on every single door, DFIs. I think if I calculate all my rejections to date, I've got a list of it. I'm very petty like that. It's about 310 or so. So I know rejection. So then knocked. I mean, you can even type in Fezile Dhlamini, and you'll see a lot of interesting videos of what I've said about government, because you know how it is when you're looking for funding. Eventually found myself at a point where I was broke, because when I quit my last job, I had like a year, I had like 12 months of cash, because I knew that you don't just quit your job when you go into entrepreneurship. Again, it's a calling. It's not just something you just jump into because you will drown. It's like jumping over a cliff and building a plane all the way back, all the way down. So I'm still building it. I think I'm about to glide. So what basically happened is March 2018, I'm broke, ran out of cash, and I'm trying to think of a new solution to help fund this idea, because this is it's a multi-billion-dollar idea. Cool. So what I did was I went and I started another company, literally within that month when I was broke. And I was like, okay, cool, I need to survive. Went to this telco, one of South Africa's biggest telecommunications company, pitched to build software and hardware, which is like smart mirrors. So it's like, you look at this thing, this is a mirror, and it's actually like a photo booth, blah, blah, blah. Literally, after 2-3 months of being broke, asking my mother for 500 rand because I just needed to have gas and have bread and peanut butter, because I even had my own place, so it was tough. Eventually, got the big check, on the 1st of June. And after I got that check, literally that helped fund my entire thing. So to date, we've built, sold, and leased about 60 units. We've done multiple POCs. Those POCs, we've done them with your McDonald's, Club Mykonos in Langebaan, McDonald's, Zulzi, who else? A couple of delivery companies. And we've also been fortunate enough to be a part of a number of accelerator programs. I've always told myself, I always shoot for the stars, even though the stars are really, really far, but I know I'll catch one someday. So we're a part of Google for Startups Advisory, Seed Stars, Financial Times. We're one of the top 50 companies globally. And we've done a lot, and the product, it's we've got 2 types of vehicles. One is the ZB-RS, one is the ZB Cargo. ZB-RS is a passenger car, gives you a range of about 120 kilometers of range from a single charge. So you literally charge it from your normal 2-phase, 3-phase wall socket, and if you were to quantify the cost to it, it's about so you're actually paying COJ 1 rand 69 cents per kilowatt hour. With our battery, you're spending about 8 rand 60 cents for 120 kilometers. So again, if you measure like for like, we've got the most amazing product in the market right now. One of the things that we're going to be launching at the end of the year is going to be Africa's first, in collaboration with one of our technical partners, Africa's first solar-powered electric vehicle. So this is literally going to be the electric vehicle of the future for last mile delivery. That will give you about 400 kilometers of range from a single charge. If you look at our market opportunity, which we've shared with the people we've engaged with, we've got a total addressable market of about $22.59 billion. That's about us if we're to sell about 3.7 million units. That's 5% of the global market that we've looked at. If you look at South Africa as a company now, there's about 5,500 courier companies, 5,000 restaurants, different types of restaurants as well. There's about 15,000 passenger drivers within the vehicle segment that we're in. And then you've got an additional like 30,000 plus drivers from a last mile delivery perspective. With that, if you look at our serviceable addressable market in South Africa right now, it's a market worth, sorry, I use dollars because we're always pitching, abroad and stuff like that, so the dollars are in my mind. That's about $742 million. That's our serviceable addressable market in South Africa. So again, like, when you're pitching and stuff, the most important thing is that market opportunity. It's your TAM, total addressable market, serviceable addressable market, and your serviceable obtainable market. So if you look at our serviceable obtainable market, it's a $30 million market. That's an annual market, which we also looked at when we researched and made sure that our numbers matched. If you look at our business unit economics, we build vehicles to sell, we lease, we've got advertising revenue, and we've also got fleet management. So leasing means it's like a subscription, so it's SaaS. So people can come and lease our vehicles for 3 months plus. This is using it for passenger transport or food grocery delivery. If you look at the buying is simple. I mean, you come, you buy, get your vehicle. We give you all the other support in terms of roadside assistance, etc. Fleet management is like, think of let's say soft grind soft grind. If they want to do deliveries, right? But they don't have the cash to their business is not having vehicles on their balance sheet. So we come in, we provide vehicles, we provide drivers, we provide the platform, which is the API integration from a back-end perspective, and then we just manage your entire fulfillment from a delivery perspective. You just have to make sure you always have coffee, and, yeah. So, and then if you look at one of the things within your deck, I more or less also went through my deck in a way, is like our ask, in terms of what we put out into the market. Fortunately enough, when I was a part of the Seed Stars and Financial Times program last year, it helped me actually fine-tune stuff. And with helping me fine-tune, if I wasn't part of that program, I wouldn't have managed to get it was investment in the form of debt last year, December. It literally took us 15 minutes. We spoke to these guys from America in a 15-minute call, then boom, that the term sheet was signed and everything in 7 days. So, and again, it's what they liked, which was the software as a service, which was the subscription model, something that we're still fine-tuning and trying to get to. And yeah, that's my story. Oh, by the way, I've got a team. So my team is 5. It's myself, Fezile. I'm a strategic corporate communicator by profession. Dropped out doing my online industrial design degree because, again, I mean, when you're running a startup, it's impossible to have your ducks in a row in most cases. So one has to suffer. I've also started other startups. My other one is Scooter Treats, which is still active. Other people are running it. It's a last mile delivery service utilizing electric vehicles. So I'm also the first person to ever put electric vehicles in the township. A lot of people were telling me for the longest of time is EVs won't work in South Africa because of load shedding. Get it? But I mean, for me, I love challenges. I look for challenges, and I make sure I prove a point, And it's with that conviction, it's that providence that's within me that keeps me going. Sorry, I think I may have been over 5 minutes, but just give me just 2 more minutes. So founded Scooter Treats. We do grocery and food deliveries. We're the first people to do deliveries between township to the burbs. So on the 6th of April 2020, the country was shut down, right? I don't know what lockdown is because I've been on the road literally ever since. So what we're doing is literally, you stay in Bryanston, there's actually some estate down here, no? There's like an estate over here. Yeah, we actually used to deliver food from Soweto or Alexandra Township to those people using our EVs. The most important thing for me was connecting the disconnected, formalizing the informalized, which is the informal economy of the township, identifying it and knowing how you can actually abuse it so that it can actually be better for itself. Another company I started was a marketing agency, which is the one I helped fund Green Scooter. That within the first 6 months or 8 months, I think we made about like 4 million or something like that. And literally, you know, that's my track record personally. Then I've got my other partners, Malama Chitalu, she's a aeronautical engineer by profession. She's a CTO. Then you've got Mr. Malcolm Brooks. Mr. Malcolm Brooks, he's a veteran. He's 59 years old. He's head of our supply chain and technical, helps us with fixing vehicles, delivering vehicles, etc. Then you've got Fezile Clark. He is our business analyst, you know, helps with the analytical side of things, our dashboards, etc., to make sure that all of our metrics and forecasts, they actually match where we're trying to be. And then there's Percy Moiloa. On his side, he came in as well from a business development perspective. And that is my company, Green Scooter. Thanks. Oh, if you guys have any questions, this is the Q&A, right?
It will happen afterwards.
Oh, okay, cool.
It will happen afterwards. But that's Mr. Fezile Dhlamini. Another big round of applause for Scooter. Our very own Mr. Elon Musk amongst us. What is Tesla when you have Scooter? So thank you so much for sharing your story. I think there are a lot of questions that will come from all of you for our two pitches, because two contrasting businesses looking to solve problems, solve health, and the other one solve, well, the health of the country, because if you take a look outside, it's pretty dark. So bringing light to the situation with his electric cars, as we try to bring light to you throughout this load shedding. So please, one more round of applause for Mr. Fezile Dhlamini and his Scooter. One of the big questions that I have is how they got in touch with Aions Creative Technology, because, well, finding that person who has belief in what you're doing is key, but also working hard and getting those rejections and trying again is the name of the game until someone realizes your talents and what you're out here to do. So big ups to all of our pitchers. I hope you have your questions in abundance. We'll just give you a refresher when the time comes, because now it's time to move the conversation from our pitchers and their stories, and I hope you can relate to some of their stories. And we'll hear more success stories from our people in the panel, not just success stories, but also difficulties as well. So buckle up your seatbelts, because it's going to be a ride that we're about to take. And we're going to make it as organic as possible, because we want it to be a conversation, and a conversation that you too can be a part of. So one of the biggest things that he spoke about, Fezile, was the fact that after 1.5 years of working in corporate. May I please ask, what did you do in corporate, Mr. Fezile? Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm.
But actually before that, while I was studying at UJ doing my degree, UJ was actually my client. I used to do social media engineering.
Okay.
So, also I did a lot of my background, like, so my background is like also vast, because I've worked with social media engineering. I've done stuff with from a security information perspective. So did that while I was even working my new 9-to-5 at Gendel. I went in as a, what is it called again? Content strategist, managing like your Mango Airlines, etc. Did that for 6 months. But 3 months into that job, I was headhunted by Monster Energy Drink. Went and I joined them as a, what was I again? Local web coordinator for Power Play. So for Power Play Energy Drink, that was 6 months after that job. But while I was working that job, I still had my other company, which was Green Scooter the entire time. Did that, worked at Monster for like 9 months. Then I was headhunted by another company called Cushman and Wakefield. They like all your shopping centers, etc. So from a facilities perspective, so I was like head of social and digital media. So I was managing about 5 up to 90 shopping centers.
So you're very much into the digital strategy.
Yeah, but I
part
never
of the
thought I was
game.
going to do this. That's the thing.
Okay, okay. No. There's a very serious reason why I asked that question. And
Yeah.
may I ask from you, Heidene, in terms of corporate work before starting your own thing, did you have a 9 to 5 prior to starting Tubby's Kitchen?
I did, yes, I did. I was a change management consultant. I was a life coach, and I acted in executive role at Westbank.
Oh, okay. Did you have anything to do?
Yes, I was part of the facilities management team
Okay.
before
You started. No, fantastic. So we have a corporate digital strategist. We have someone who was once an exec, someone who was in management positions. So these are serious positions before you actually start saying, no, let me quit my job. But now the question becomes to you, our panelists. We'll start with you. Actually, let's start with the old wise. You know, the old wise man on the seat. So, Mr. David Weideman, please, before you went into the alternative board and saying, no, I'm going to stand on my own, what is it that you were doing? For how long? And then what actually sparked you saying, nah, I'm tired of this, let me do my own thing?
Okay, as the old one, I spent 32 years in corporate. I worked for 2 banks, but about midway through that realized I had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to do, which is what I'm doing now. So I was fortunate that in the late 90s, early 2000s, I had a very good idea of what I wanted to do. Part of that came as a result of my wife being diagnosed with cancer, and we taking a back step to say, what's life about? And that led to a whole lot of things. My wife resigned from her job. We lived on credit cards because we had decided what we wanted to do. So for me, it became an issue of just, okay, how do I equip myself with the knowledge and the skills that I needed to do what I wanted to do, which was working with business owners. So everything I did since then was, how do I get knowledge and skill and exposure to the stuff that I wanted to do? And I knew that by the time I got to 55, which was last year, I wanted to quit corporate and do my own thing, which also meant that I had to get rid of all debt, all stuff, because I wanted to finance myself. So one of the things, I've been living in the same house for the last 21 years. My car's 15, 17 years old. So all of that was to fund myself. So that's another discussion in terms of how to use the corporate to fund your business. But so that's how I came about it. I was one of the fortunate people that there was a major event in my life, took a back step and knew what I wanted to do and just started going for that.
Whew. I'm glad that your wife survived.
Yeah,
and
so
she's
am I.
still out here doing the best thing and reaping that success as well. But then on top of that, you said it took you 32 years to finally branch out and stand on your own 2 feet. And then in doing that, it's not easy. You know, there's certain challenges that you face. So can you please just bring light to us as to what those challenges were, even though you had 32 years of work experience?
So the first challenge was not having financial resources. So I grew up in a household where there was no money, no father, etc., took care of my brother and sisters. So that was the first challenge. But you only realize those challenges in hindsight and what you learn through those. So that was the first challenge. And when I was raised, study or discussions about what do you want to do in future didn't exist. It was about how do you survive from a day-to-day basis. So I really got exposure when I started in the corporate world. That's when I really got exposure. And I was fortunate that I was talented enough to progress fairly quickly, given where I was and my background. And the first challenge in the corporate was that people don't believe you in corporate when you say, actually, I'm here to learn because one day I want to do my own thing. So people want you to shoot for positions. You know, you're a clerk, then you must become a manager, then you must become a senior manager, but what people don't understand is once you're on a corporate ladder, you are on the ladder and you stay on that ladder until you get off. And the pace of the ladder is determined not by you, but by the people ahead of you on that ladder. So that was the first thing. So I was very comfortable on this ladder because I knew I didn't want to get to the top of the ladder. I wanted to branch out sideways, left, right, to get the skill. But getting people to believe you was the challenge.
That's an interesting challenge, just like switching on this mic for a moment. So in that, I will hold it there and ask Mr. Mitch, because his journey is different. It's not 32 years long, and it certainly had its own. And you shared this with us the last time you were here. But the main question is, what made you say enough is enough with the bank? I want to do the first thing that I did, which was Ozo, and how did that journey go about? How did you start and say, it's time?
There are plenty non-factual stuff that you just said. I worked at the bank when I was at Ozo, but that was not the first thing I tried. There were plenty failures before that. I'm a software developer, so I studied software development, and I went into software. Fortunately enough, it was in the banking sector, financial markets. I worked for a stockbroking company. But in that already I wanted to break out. So exactly what David said, you use the money that you earn in there and you take a portion of it and you put it into whatever you're doing. At that time, I wanted to be they look like a lot of new guys here, but the guys that were in here, a failed rapper, right? That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a successful one, but I tried very hard to be a failed rapper because it didn't work out. Yeah, I bought a house. I built a studio at the back of that house. I rented out the rooms in the house to friends of mine. I also owned a flat at the time, so I started investing in property as well. And this is over a 4,000 Rand salary in 2005. Yeah. So I'm a qualified person. I could charge for my time, and with that, I could use that money to do other things with it. But notice how I used the money. I only have like 4,000. I took it. I bonded a house. So the bank gave me the money to do so, and I have to pay them back monthly. So I say, how do I subsidize that? I rent out the rooms to my friends. I get a flat, I rent out that also. So it covered the asset cost initially, so I wasn't making money off of it, but over time, it started providing extra income. With the studio in the back, we could charge for studio time and start building that business. But I didn't have business acumen at all. The second thing I tried was like bespoke software for people. Like yourselves. If you have a startup, back then it was websites. I need a website. How much is a website? Okay, we'll just spin up a quick website for you and charge you some money. And with that, also using that money, pushing it into the record label. Yeah. But only learned business once I got to Ozo, and that is due to complete exposure. And if I explain exposure to you, in my view, take somebody from a township that's never been to Sun City, for instance. They've never seen Sun City, Lost City, and they've grown up in a township, and that's all they've seen. Township dancing, township music, township shops, all of that. And then when they're 25, take them to the Lost City and show it to them. And then send them back to the township and ask them questions and see if that didn't change their whole perspective on what they wanted, what their lives. Before that, they'll probably say, like, this is what I want. My ambition in life was to stand at the shops and, get as much 5 rands I could to play Tata Box. But getting the exposure to all these things, even in doing the record label, we had stages, the connections that we got here to do this thing, that was through that. I met people. Then they were also starting their business, now run their own businesses and look at the stages like proper professional. We went to different places, we met different people, and when I got to Ozo, I started dealing with people outside of my sphere, completely outside of my sphere. I got to travel, I got to meet people outside of South Africa. Before that, race was a big issue for me. You blame the government for everything, you blame white people for everything, you blame black people for everything, you blame colored people for everything. Everybody is the problem. And then you're on the plane and you're sitting next to a Nigerian guy and he doesn't know anything about white, black, colored. In his country, when you walk into a bank, the security guard is black, the receptionist is black, the guy right on top is black, they're all black, and they just perform at an excellent level. The service delivery in Nigeria is amazing compared to here, because we're hindered by that race. And the whole race thing and where we come from and how the government has done us in, the government doesn't do much there either, but those guys keep on trucking, and they got very good attitudes towards their work and service delivery. That completely changed my perspective when I came back as well. I was like, I'm now a citizen of the world. In fact, the market is not South Africa, it is Africa. The market is Europe. I can interface anywhere. So yeah, exposure was maybe the biggest thing for me to transition over into something successful. Before that, I think that's the reason why the record label also wasn't successful. I just wasn't exposed enough to the right
real
things.
deals, to the big things. No, thank you for sharing that in summary. And to just take it a step back, you know, I just came through and I spoke about the Ozo because that's what people see. People just see the success. They're like, now he's driving the Ferrari. Oh, now he has the Range Rover. But they neglect the 310 rejections. They forget the failed record label. They forget all of these things. And in that being the case, I want us to talk about mindset. That belief that you have in yourself, because when you're starting and branching out and starting something of your own, there will always be critics. There'll always be someone saying something bad, or there will always be that comment that will make you say, maybe I'm not good enough about this. And nothing does that more than facing rejection, right? Nothing is just bad. But I have to ask, and I will continue with you, Mitch, just for a bit, in terms of the rejections that you faced throughout your journey, what then made you continue and say, no way, even though you have all this exposure, you have all of this knowledge now, and you know all of these people, the rejections still come. What made you continue and say, no, I'm not stopping?
A lot of support base from people. I probably would have stopped myself if it wasn't for people that came and encouraged you. But I did say it in the last session, so cover your ears, everybody that doesn't believe in God. It was complete faith in God. It was all due to a prayer I did at church during something called Miracle Offering, and we wrote on their debt free. I was in deep debt. You guys have to watch the documentary, and you weren't here last week, so sorry. I was in intense debt, and I needed to get out of that debt, so we wrote down debt free, put it into an envelope, and the next day, my business partner, Thomas Pace, we went into a business together to start Ozo. He called me the following day. And to me, oh, thanks guys. So to me, that was like an answer to prayer. So anytime I went through anything difficult, it was like, no, it can't be, because this is the answer to the prayer, you know, and God never lies, so it has to happen. In hindsight, I realized I had to go through those things, because the day after I got that phone call, I started spending the money in my head already that we were going to make. And I was spending it on yachts and houses. The journey that I went through, we got sued. The situation actually got worse. I got into even more debt. And that's how I ended up at the bank, because I had to exit the company for a bit and then came back into it. But by the time we actually made it to the top of the hill, I was no longer buying yachts, no longer buying houses. I was helping people pay off their debts and paying off my own debts, which is also why Aions exists now, is to help other companies and build other companies. So it's changed my entire perspective and probably given me the drive and the goal and the mission for my life now. Otherwise, what am I going to do just in a yacht in a big house?
Go for swims.
No, you'll get bored of swimming forever.
No, thank you for sharing that, and it just shows that you can't go through this life thing by yourself, which is why we called this thing the tribe. You because you need a tribe of people to keep you pushing. And on that note, Mr. Letlhogonolo, it's your shop, right? Technically, it's your event, but it wouldn't have happened without helping hands, right? Speaking to what Mitch has said. But also you yourself, you studied God knows what, I can't even pronounce it because I was just a commerce person. And you've went through your fair deal of ups and very big downs. Like, I don't know, very big downs.
How did you know?
Don't ask me. Ask my crystal balls and my bones. But apart from that, your journey on when the tough times hit, of which you still face even now because you're slowly building up the soft grind into the big grind, you know. What then do you source your powers from? When things are down, where does this self-belief for you stem from so that you don't stop going or you don't stop stopping?
That's a very loaded question. I wish I took their questions rather. It's a tough one, man. It's a tough one because my journey is quite long. I like what you said earlier, that you can't use trauma as a trophy.
Yes.
You know, that was really powerful. It may be a good thing, but a bad thing at the same time. But all of the issues that I had to go through and deal with, it just came about at a critical time in my journey as an entrepreneur. So it just becomes an issue of inundation, and you have a lot to deal with. The journey of business is not easy on its own, not by far. It's a calling, as the gentleman said earlier, Fezile. You know, it's a calling. And even then, it's not easy. But now it becomes more difficult when you have debt, you know, to deal with, when you have family, when you have pressure, when you have so many other things to worry about. And that's I suppose a very good question, because I'm still in that process, trying to, firstly, it starts with aligning myself spiritually and connecting myself spiritually in a way that, you know, is true to me. And then the second part is a process of learning and relearning, right? There's a lot of things that you pick up as you grow, your upbringing, you're being told this is how you should live, this is how you should do business, this is this. But then you realize that actually this is your story. You write it the way you want to, and it's not by anyone else's rules that you have to abide by but yourself. Because failure is not a for me, failure is not a problem if it does happen that you fail, but fail in your own terms, because in that way you can learn, you can adjust. When you're failing on someone else's rules, it's kind of difficult because you cannot take the lessons that you need to, because there's so many permutations. What went wrong? What is it that I need to improve on? Was my strategy wrong? Do it your own way. And I think that's where I'm at, unlearning so many things and redefining myself. Fezile, what I liked in what he shared in his story was the conviction. He wanted to prove a point. He had that. That's very important. Something that I learned that I didn't have. You know, as much as I had other attributes, other characteristics, I didn't have that. Something that I needed to learn for myself. So it's been a journey of reflection, a journey of self-growth, self-development, and also really, again, finding my spirituality in a way that makes sense to me, because it's believing, isn't it? You have to believe,
100%.
not what you were told, but you have to really believe in a way that you can truly believe, and that's the process that I'm going through.
Yeah, just jump in on one thing that he said there. He said he failed. But you can only really fail if you don't give your all. If you did a half-assed job at something, then you really didn't give it your all, so you didn't really fail. You can only fail, actually a lie. That's when you fail. If you do a half-assed job, you fail. But if you gave your all and everything you can do and your best, and you still didn't make it, you didn't fail. It's not for you, and you move on to the next thing. That's what it comes down to. So you never actually really fail unless you're half-assing everything. and many of us do that.
That's the definition of exposure.
Correct.
If it's exposure, one of the things that we actually spoke about earlier is or earlier in the week, is when you look at exposure, we tend to think that exposure is this positive thing, this wonderful thing. But if you look at Fezile's, if you look at Nadine's, if you look at the discussions here, we've been exposed to things in our lives. So if you think about it practically, Fezile was exposed to the heat of Richards Bay and he went, there's got to be something that can be done here. So he turned an exposure, and I'm not talking about an exposure to the sun, an exposure to an experience. Nadine was exposed to, become, what did you say, the best, very successful
The best
epileptic sufferer, and she turned it into, not a sufferer, but it's an exposure. We got exposed. Mitch got exposed to credit. I got exposed to credit as well. We've got different exposures, so we tend to, when we look for that business thing, and somebody mentioned, being an entrepreneur is a calling. And it's very true, because if you want to start a business because you're fed up with your corporate job, you'll never make it. You'll never make it. Just find another job. And it's interesting how the people that have been there nod their heads. So exposure is about, what are the things that up until this point in my life, what are those things that I can use to do what I want to do? So exposure is not, I got exposure to Africa and traveling through the corporate world. I got exposed to starting businesses through the corporate world because people had a trust in me to say, we want you, we believe that you can do this, so go and do it. So I did it inside a corporate. So by the time that I left, I was comfortable to do it. So exposure is a very, very critical thing. Finally, a couple of years ago, I was taught this lesson that it is in the valley of the no's, not these ones, the no's, where the yeses reside. It's in the valley of the no's. So you never, 310 plus times that you stopped, when you listen to Mitch, the number of times, that's exposure. You might see it, or a lot of people might see that as negative. That's exposure, because every time you go, okay, that one maybe didn't work here, but you get exposed to it. And if you don't get exposure and you're not open for exposure, you're also never going to be successful in an entrepreneur.
100%, 100%. I thought that was going to get a round of applause, because those are some wise words from a wise man, And we're talking about the issue of exposure, and one of the biggest things, especially from young, budding entrepreneurs looking to break out of their own thing, there's always this voice at the back of our heads of saying, do I have enough to make it happen? How do you then, we'll even start with you, Lee, because your establishment is relatively new. How did you expose yourself to the right people to make your business come into fruition? Basically saying, how did you find the backing? Even if it's your own resources that you expended. And what is it that you believe got the buy-in of investors into what you're doing to make the soft grind what it is to what it will become? So where did you search? What did you find? Your failures? And what did you bring in for it to happen?
I'll take it further back, how the journey started, right? So exposure, very, very powerful, very, very critical to my story as well. So you mentioned earlier what I studied. So I studied at Wits. I did a bachelor's degree in molecular biology, completed that, and then worked for a multinational company, Sanofi, did that for a couple of years, and then I left, started with an internship, not so different to the gentleman we shared earlier. And then I left. It just something wasn't right. And it goes back to exposure. I had seen what I had seen. So I come from the dusty township called Moidorpi, Itsoseng. That's what it's called, actually. It's called Moidorpi. Yes. And it's just saying in Mafikeng. And I say it like that because a lot of people, when I say I'm from the Northwest, they're like, Rustenburg. No, my friend. No. So in corporate, here I am, youngest in the boardroom, and I have the benefits, I have whatever salary, I have a company car, I have a petrol card, and then I go back home. And then the guys look at me like I've made it, they're like, you've made it. And then I come back, I'm like, wait, this is my salary, 10% is going to the flat that I'm renting to be close to work. 20% is going to, actually there's car allowance. 5% is going to the cell phone. At the end of the day, I'm left with, what, 10%. This is what I'm working for. And then the guys at home, they're like, no, but you've made it. But I'm like, no, I've only made it to a point where I can afford debt. I haven't made it, you know. And that was the exposure that was critical for me. It was having that juxtaposition between me being in corporate and me being the Kasi guy from Northwest. It really helped me to see that the equation was not adding up. Something was not adding up. So that's what led to the passion, the seed in me wanting to change the narrative, because I was never going to make it in corporate. I didn't want an office job. I didn't want to be in management of any kind. Funny enough, as an entrepreneur, that's all you are. And then, you know, it was that passion, seeing how it didn't make sense. And how when my friends look at me that you've made it and I'm still far away, and something had to give. So that's why I realized that I needed to get into business. So that exposure, that's what gave that passion, that every time when anyone comes to the shop, that's what oozes out, you know. That's my drive. And
those
that's
of you
what sells
who've
everything.
been here, please come through. You'll experience it. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Yeah. So that's how exposure was critical for me. It was the start of my journey, not necessarily when I started the business. So I was an entrepreneur first before I started this particular business, and in between there's so many other businesses in between.
And then for this particular business, upon the failures and all the other failures that you had, when then did this come about? And because normally when people start coffee shops, they have small kiosks. They started at the back of their truck, and you know, small machines serving in polystyrene cups. And here you are with an entire cafe. You have things going pretty smoothly, relatively, from the outside looking in, you know. Yeah. So how did, after all the years of grinding and failures, how did this come about to it being what it is?
Blood, sweat, and tears. I'm kidding. For me, the story is long in pushing and grinding. It was a lot of hard work that got me to a particular point where I was fortunate enough actually to be inducted into a program with Standard Bank Enterprise Development. So it was an incubation program that we went through, and then at the end of it, you know, it led to them assisting us with building the store. But you had to put skin in the game, you know, you have to do the work. And at the time I was with a partner, we started the concept together. Again, a lot of school fees on the ground that you learn, that sometimes, you know, partnerships don't work, but even if they don't work, you have to figure out, you know, how do you still keep the business going? You dust yourself up and you still carry on. So it was, from the get-go, it was a lot of adaptation. And that was the hardest lesson that I had to take, that, well, you can do your projections, your business plan, 5 years, you write it down, right? Day one, day one, you get slapped with a right hook, you know, and it's been a slippery slope ever since. But the journey of growing, the journey of just continuous adaptation and just, you know, meandering with the challenges as they come. You bob and weave and you still go, you know, you duck and dive and you still go. So that's been the journey thus far.
So thank you for that. You found the Standard Bank Incubation Program, which really assisted you. And please, just because an opportunity has been found does not mean that walking into that door and staying into that room is easy. It's still hard work. Nothing is spoon-fed. And in that manner, I would like to come back to you, Mitch, before we come to the wise man next to me. Speaking of pitches and finding people to pitch your idea to so that they can back you, where do we go to find these people? Because you told us last week that you did a lot of pitches before Mr. David came through with his strong arm. Where did you start to start looking for venture capitalists that you can pitch your ideas to? And when those failed, because you went through several failures, where did you then seek out the others until you get to 310 rejections, until your business comes right?
Okay, so the ultimate journey was through incubators. I think that is kind of like the story that you've heard so far. Fezile's been in an incubator, he's been there, I've gone through incubators. The stats are that 50% of companies fail within 2 years. And then it goes on further, 5 years, it's like 90%, 6 years, 98%. But 90% of companies that go through an incubator make it. So an incubator helps, and the government has put in programs to ensure that there are enough incubators around. Problem is 90% of incubators fail. So you need to find a good incubator, look at the track record, look who's behind it, look at what they've done. A lot of these incubators are run by guys that have book smarts. So just because you've studied business, just because you know business, doesn't mean you can run a business. Just like Lee pointed out, you're going to get smacked on day one, and you're not going to know how to get through that. I mean, let's look at what this evening, for instance. We were putting this whole thing together, then load shedding started. When was that? Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah. All of a sudden, there's no generator here. But there's lights, there's cameras, there's mics. And so we had to organize a generator. People were telling me, oh, maybe we should postpone, maybe we should cancel, move it to another day. No, we've already put marketing into this. We've gone into it, right? We can't back out now. This is the journey of entrepreneur. And you face it in one day. There you go. We're going to go into another day, and it's going to be exactly the same. You're not just going to get one smack in your face for your entire business. Cool, I got my smack. Let's carry on with my business. Every day it's going to be like that. It's going to be constant challenges you're going to have to take over and go through that. So this is the thing with an incubator. Find yourself a successful incubator. Look at who's running it. Make sure that they've been an entrepreneur in the past. Make sure that they've been through those punches. They understand that. They don't freak out. They don't, go into a little frenzy on themselves, and they can't think straight when something like that happens. Look for someone that keeps calm, keeps cool, and then gives orders and moves on. It's solutions-based, basically. Don't focus on the problem. You ask, where did we get the money from, the venture capitalists? Those guys are linked to incubators. So an incubator will take you through a program and afterwards introduce you to their network. And VCs would do that. They would associate with an incubator because for them, they want to lessen their risk. So because somebody's gone through an incubator, they're like, well, this guy's probably going to be more successful than anybody else that's just randomly out there. So hint number one, you probably stand a better chance of raising money if you are in an incubator of sorts. We don't call ourselves an incubator, we call ourselves a startup drone, which is basically a launch pad. You get something called an aerospace drone, which is where they launch spaceships from, and we want to launch your business, basically, so it's a startup drone. The other thing is, you're always pitching to anybody and everybody that you meet. At Bryce, your family, and they ask you how you're doing when you have an idea and you're trying to convince somebody. Just speak to anybody about your idea. Look how they look at you. They're like, you're going to see they don't believe in you. Sure, that's going to take like millions to do, dude. When I tell them some of my ideas, when I told them my ideas when I was younger, I'm still young, right? But younger than what I am now, because of my background, because of where I came from, nobody took me seriously. Now, I can tell you that me and Fezile is going to build the first flying electrical vehicle, and people will be like, yeah, this guy's going to make it happen because now I have a track record. But before that, because of where I came from, it didn't matter. What I said, it's like, you're from here, you can't do that. So in that, you're pitching and you're trying to prove yourself all the time. But one thing I figured out there, and I said it the last time, is R1 million is 1,000 rands. So you just need 1,000 people to give you 1,000 rand. There's also a test to see if somebody comes from a location. You ask them what's the quickest way to make R1 million. My cousin told me you steal from the bank. So, but that's not it. The quickest way to make R1 million in one day is to sell something for R1 million. The problem is, it's just a difficult sale. And that's where it comes to venture capitalism. If you're going to be asking for R1 million, that sale is going to be difficult, expect it to be difficult. But if you start halving that thing and breaking it down, you got 1,000 rands. Find 1,000 people and convince them to give you 1,000 rands a lot easier. That's why I don't even look at hawkers anymore like they are poor guys. If they sell to 63,000 people something worth 15 rand, they make R1 million in that day. And the place where they can do that is like FNB Stadium, just selling cold drinks. A bunch of their friends can just get together, 5 of them stand around the stadium, sell cold drinks to 63,000 people. Some people might drink 2, especially if you're going to sell beer, they might drink 8. So you don't have to sell to all 63,000. It's an easy sale. It's a much easier sale to get the smaller amounts. And what I find from entrepreneurs I speak to, because a lot of people now pitch their business to me, and I'm like, cool idea, they want 10 million rand. I'm like, dude, how much money have you generated so far? Nothing. Then nobody's going to invest in your business right now. You need to prove your business, and you're not going to even generate that first 1,000 rand if you don't get 10 rand each. So if you want 10 rand, ask me for 10 rand. Let's talk what we're going to swap for. I'll give you the 10 rand. Now I've made 100 rand. Cool. Let's go to the 1,000 rand guy. I know him. He's down the road. And I'll introduce you to him, and I'll say, this guy's made 100 rand. I've put 10 rand in. How's about you put in 1,000 rand? Now you're doing it off my back and my reputation. Then that guy's going to do it off his reputation. That's how you get to the people in the States. You're going to start here. You can't just go directly to the people in the States. Though the landscape is changing a bit now, Africa's all popular and America's just throwing money in, but I can see some lessons that's already been learned with some of our friends in North Africa have been getting the money from the States guys very easily because of their links to the States. And some of those businesses are crashing very fast. They're getting large sums of amount. Oza only got 10 million in the beginning in 2014. It took us another 2 years to get another 10 million, and then another 2 or 3 years, and we got 40. Only now did we get 48 million US dollars, which is the end of last year. Some of the companies coming in, their seed money is 20 million US dollars in South Africa. It's ridiculous, and that only started this year. It's amazing for the ecosystem, but we're going to see a lot of people just crashing and burning because they're not ready for their money. And it's going to create this bad reputation with the people putting in the money, and you're going to go back into the cycle. So advice to everybody is rather partner with somebody that has the experience in it and go the long journey. Don't go for the quick money.
Just on that, 2 things.
Yes! Now, we're getting into it now. Thank you. Thank you.
So to Mitch's point, just two observations. The first thing is, if there's anybody in this audience that has not read Casinomics, please read it. Casinomics is about South African economics in townships. The second observation is just, I heard something that, and I shared it with my partners over here, is that it's one of the best things I've ever heard, is a quote from a client who said, your reputation precedes your bank balance by a minimum of 2 years. So think about what Mitch just said. Your reputation is what's going to get you the money, not your idea, nothing like that. Your reputation. So if you're not working, you're not getting that exposure, you're not knocking on the door, you're not building up a reputation. If you don't have a reputation, why should I give you money? So your reputation precedes your bank balance.
Ah, beautiful words. Let's keep grinding and keep clapping those hands. Yes, let's keep going. And one of the key points that I got when you were speaking, Mitch, is the art of finding level ground with the person who you are planning to work with. And that has to do a lot with negotiating and finding the best deal for you and the person that you're trying to deal with. Especially you know, when you're trying to branch into something that's your own now. You don't want to give all of it away, but you also want to give just enough in order for you to get something back. I will be with you, Fezile, but I need to ask the man who's been in the business for over 3 decades. You know how the negotiation works, and you know that it's your job helping businesses and strategizing for them. So now in finding someone to work with and then negotiating those deals, what is it that you need as a budding entrepreneur to make sure that you don't sell yourself short or don't oversell yourself, but make sure that the person gets equal value like yourself?
That's a tough question. And there's no, I'm going to offer this, there's no answer to that question. It's going to be like most things that we've heard about. It's going to be tested. Try it. The first thing it means is you've got to come out of your comfort zone. If you want to go into partnership with somebody, or you're going to ask somebody for funding, if you go into it with the idea that I'm going to protect what I have as much as possible and just give you enough so that you can become my partner, you're never partners. Partners share everything. They're in it together. My business partner and myself, we have what we call a partnership charter. It says he's responsible for that, I'm responsible for this. Before we went in, we decided how much is he going to give in, what am I going to put in, what's going to be the shareholding. All of that stuff was done before we entered into the business. But above that, in my case, I've been very blessed. I've known this gentleman for 16 years. We wanted the same, and we still do. We want the same things, and we spoke about solution-based. Our business, our mission is to impact 1 million lives. Now, 1 million lives is actually very easy in South Africa. I just need to help entrepreneurs create businesses, get them to keep the existing jobs, and get them to create more jobs. Why is that important? Because for the United Nations, according to them, for every 1 life that you can touch, you impact 5 lives. So suddenly, I don't have to impact 1 million, I just have to impact 250,000. And that 250,000, you now start, like Mitch said, you start breaking down and breaking down. Now I work with more and more business owners. Inside of that, if you don't have a partner that shares that vision, that understands what's going to happen down there, you're going to look for money and not achieving your objective. So if your partnership is built around, geez, I want this guy to come in to get something from him or her, that's wrong.
It's more than that. And you said that there's no answer, right? And this is where I'd like to bring you guys along now, because clearly we won't find the answers with our 3 panelists or even myself. Fezile, did you have something to share with this?
Yeah, I wanted to speak about exposure. You know, one of the most important things that I did for myself is to, and it's something I always relay and tell people to do for themselves as well, is to throw yourself in the deep end. You know, if you can't swim, throw yourself in the deep end. You just have to kick. Kick until you find yourself, you know, with your head above the water. So it goes to exposure. No one owes you exposure. You owe it to yourself. So you need to create your own exposure. By creating your own exposure, you can come from a disadvantaged background, you can come from an advantaged background, but exposure is something that you also have to create. And that means, like, you can knock on all doors, doors don't open. Build your own, and they will come. And that's what we did, you know, and this is a lesson from my own business when we were selling our vehicles and trying to get to where we wanted to be, is that a lot of people, DFIs, told me it was never going to work. And yeah, sometimes you'll sit and you look at these accountants and you'll be like, these people don't even know half the crap that they're talking about, you know, because they're accountants. They're not creative, you know. And, you know, for me it was, I will build and they will come. And that's what you need to think, and that's how you need to do as an entrepreneur. Like, you just got to start. If you don't start, your ideas are going to be like everyone else's and just go to the grave, because that is what generally happens in South Africa. But, again, the state of mind, like Mitchan said, is that can come from a township and you've never been to Sun City. The moment you get to go to Sun City and you come back home, then it unlocks your mindset. So, but then again, with different types of beings, you know, on my side, again, I'll just use my personal story, is that no one ever taught me what I'm doing. Like, I didn't try, I didn't ask anyone for anything. My parents only knew about my business when I was on SABC at 12 o'clock in 2018. I was like, oh yeah, by the way, just watch the news. You'll hear about what I've been doing, you know? And I created my own exposure, and it led me to meeting people, which again goes to what Mr. Weideman was talking about, which is social capital. If you don't have social capital, no one's going to know you, so you have to build it. Let's create that presence. If you're not going to create it, trust me, you're going to be frustrated, and you'll find yourself, there's this startup curve, right? There's a point where you reach a trough sorrow, right? A trough sorrow means that you're like, you're super depressed, and put this corona down. So like you're super depressed. nothing's happening. You just feel like you're a failure. You've tried every single thing that you could think of, and you've tried to do introspection, but you still just feel like, the whole world is wrong.
Longer feel, some type
Just
of way.
give me a PSN and then we'll play online.
Let's go, boy. But we were speaking about appreciating value, and may you please pass the mic to either of the Lawrences so that we can get their point of view as well. We were speaking about the trough and how things at the lowest low, it becomes rough. But you guys are taking and doing a business that is completely out of the ordinary. And this is to just show that your business doesn't only have to be a coffee shop, it doesn't have to be an advisory business. It can be something that completely breaks status quo. I mean, I want to be a radio presenter and I'm working a 9 to 5. For you guys who are dealing with marijuana, which is such a taboo concept, it's illegal in some way or the other, even though you might never say when you're walking around the country. How did you guys appreciate your value, even when things were low and people didn't really believe in your idea? How did you then carry on and keep pushing and saying, I appreciate my value? What made you say that to yourself?
One of the most important things was the fact that it changed my mom's life. So that alone, when trying to educate people about the business, sets us apart from any other CBD company, because we have a real-time witness to the effects of it and how it changes people's lives. So that's how we kept pushing and getting the word out there that our stuff actually works. It's not just marijuana.
Okay.
There is
Yes.
something that I need to add there.
Please.
I have lost a couple of friends because of the stigma that's attached to it. So there is reality in terms of the lack of education that exists regarding the CBD element of this. So there's a lot of taboo that still needs to be understood in the country when it comes to the differences between marijuana and CBD. Yeah, so that needs to be understood as well.
Give us a quick rundown, because I know from some of the studies that we've done, the CBD, right, and then the THC.
Right.
THC is the stuff that makes you feel some type of way.
The man knows his stuff. So CBD takes care of all of your health issues, your inflammation. It can assist with cancer. It will assist with diabetes. It will assist with any sort of nausea that the body goes through. We all know now it works for Ashish Dave Trek, having seizures and that kind of thing. It is absolutely fantastic for your immune system, and stress. It's anxiety for mental health issues, it's fantastic. Anybody who has anxiety, people, please go there. It will help you. And THC is obviously when we all want to get high, So that's where the difference is. And then you have hemp, which is fantastic for building bricks, which is building houses, it takes care of, everything else. So it's time to start looking into what's going to make a big difference in this world.
Nah.
But
Awesome
the
stuff.
challenge, what we're hearing there is lack of information and understanding.
Absolutely.
So both Fezile and Heidene and Dillan spoke about the market. And neither one of them had an idea because they thought it was a clever thing. From them, they are not selling marijuana. They're addressing an issue, and to solve that issue, they're using a certain something. Marijuana is older than any one of us sitting in this room. And it's our lack of understanding, because if you go to different parts of the world, marijuana is not illegal, but it's also not used the way that we were taught.
Yes.
It is used or should be used. There it's not used to get on a high and become an idiot.
Yes.
There it's used for medicinal reasons. It's used, people are raised with those things around them, so it's not a new thing. How many of us here still use sugar? And we've all been told that if sugar had to be grown today, they would ban it. So why do we still use sugar, but we won't interrogate or look for something like CBD?
Exactly.
And as entrepreneurs, we also have to ask ourselves, are we going to challenge the status quo? Or are we going to settle for what's available to us because the world tells us you can only do this? Because if that was the case, we wouldn't be here.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
I'd be asleep to make sure that I wake up tomorrow to go do my job. But I'm here trying to follow my calling, just like you are following your calling to help other people, and all of us here to raise the standard for other businesses trying to break through into the industry. And we just broke it by 3 minutes. We tried to time it as best as we could. It's now 3 minutes past 8 o'clock, and thank you so much for sharing your experiences and opening up to all of us so that we have a better understanding of not just how the business works, not how the mind must work for business, but how the soul and the spirit must all intertwine with all these things so it all comes together amidst the rejections, amidst the sad things, so that we can enjoy the rewards that are going to come afterwards. So thank you so much for your patience and attention. And now the attention is shifting from our 3 panelists, and it's coming through to you guys, because we are opening the floor officially. Fezile and the Lawrences were just the prequel to raise the curtains. So now we can take any form of questions to whomever you want to send them to, even if it's someone who's sitting next to you, because they too are entrepreneurs and have a story to share. So please, feel free to raise your hands and we will pass the mic on to you. You can ask your questions, and then I'm sure that question will breed more questions and even more questions, and you know how the story goes. So please, the floor is opened and we may go with it. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen, for our 6 panelists today? There were quite a few earlier on. Where are the questions?
We've got one at the back there and one at the front here.
So we have one at the front and one at the back. I'll take the mic to the back. Please start at the front.
Okay, so my question's to all the entrepreneurs. I don't have a drop of entrepreneurial spirit in me, and I know this. But I am intrigued, and I do think that I have what it takes. How important is having an end game, like the picture of what you want? How important is that? Or do you just take the first step and go?
Okay, I'll start. Then we read from left to right. For me personally, it's critical. It's critical to have an end game, but you have to define what does end game mean. So is end game you arrive, or is end game this is how I'm going to live my life doing this? When you speak to the likes of these guys and myself, and you can ask these guys as well, there's no end game where end game equals I have arrived. It's this is what I want to do. So in what I do, we talk about a personal vision for somebody. But you know, you can use all terminology, but the quick version is, how do you want to live your life? And what do you want to do as you live that life? If entrepreneurship is part of that, then that's part of it. But you don't arrive. So I'm repeating myself for the third time. Just don't think that that purpose, that vision, that reason is where you arrive. It's a way of life. And your entrepreneurship is, I do this thing. Mitch wants to do what he does in terms of lifting businesses. It's not, you didn't, GM, say, I'm going to stop when I have helped 10,000 businesses. Or I'm going to stop when I've done 1 million cups of cappuccino. That's not the objective. The objective is, what do you want to do? Now go and do it. Which leads me just to this thing before I pass on. It's also never, for me, it has never been about can it be done. It's always been about when. When can I do it? And then you work towards that. So once you decide on what it is, it's just a question of when. And I think I'm a good example of it. I only started at the age of 53. So there's no end game. There's just, does that make sense? Does that answer that part?
No, it does make sense. I think when you start the business, do you have a picture of what the end of the business looks like? Well, if you get what I'm saying.
The end of the business?
When do you leave the business?
Okay.
Almost that, in that sense.
When,
Wait.
sorry, I think I missed that.
Your end game, like, at what point are you done with entrepreneurship?
You're never done. You're never done. You're forever an entrepreneur. It's your identity. It's who you are, and it's exposure on its own. Once you start being an entrepreneur, you start seeing the world in a different way, and that you can't go back. And you start to see that your circle of friends, it narrows down because you don't speak the same language anymore. No one understands what you're talking about. It really happens because of, you're in the journey. And that's why, I suppose, for me, I started the tribe to find more like-minded people and people that I can grow with. But trust you me, look, really what I said earlier, right? It's a journey of self. You decide what you're doing, why you're doing it. If you want to start a business, to sell it for R1 million whenever, and then you retire and you're done, that's fine, that's a goal, that's your story. No one can tell you that's wrong, yeah? And then at the same time, if it's a passion project, if it's something that you want to do, you want to change lives or whatever, that again, that is your story. No one can tell you otherwise. You need to define, and this is something that David taught me, what is it that you want? You have to define and granulate what is it that you want, and then you go for it. But what I tend to recommend, what I tend to advise is that if you have a passion project, or if you have a business of the heart, I tend to advise that don't start with that. Start with something simpler, because running a business and doing business, that's a skill on its own. And sometimes when you're doing something that's close to your heart, it's difficult, when you get the rejection. It's difficult when you reach the stumbling blocks. Start selling ice, at a township. Learn how to do cash up, learn how the logistics goes, delivering orders, fulfilling orders. These are day-to-day practical activities that are part and parcel of running a business. But we never really talk about these things, right? It's always about the idea. We over-romanticize the idea of business, and sometimes it's not necessary. You start with just learning how to do business, to capacitate yourself and get that exposure that's going to, give you the arsenal to be able to run your business that you really want to do. Yeah, that's my thought.
I think the lady at the back, I think you have a comment for the answer. Okay.
One of my favorite books is called Congratulations, You're a Millionaire. And he talks about how many, the type of people that are going to be millionaires in our existence. Sportsmen, lawyers, doctors, academias, and sales entrepreneurship. So if you want to be successful, you don't necessarily have to be an entrepreneur. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur, I think the most important part of that is the why. Because the when can change, the how can change, but the why, the reason why you want to be an entrepreneur is the most important, because that is the drive and that is the passion that will get you up every single day, even when you get a no, to keep doing it. If you're doing it to save lives, because if you're doing it because someone in your life, like her story, she has a why that is so strong that even if we don't believe in marijuana in this house, she'll still walk out and look for a crowd that would accept it because her why is so strong. So I think the how, the when, and how can I be a billionaire entrepreneur, when, and where. I think those can change. We can give you so many answers, but the why is the very important part. Why would you want to be an entrepreneur?
Taliwa, you touched on something that's very close to my heart. And it's something that I hope my children took from me and will take from me. And that's the challenge that we have in South Africa, for example. At the moment, one of the issues we have is that we blame education. We say education is failing entrepreneurship. We say, yeah, we're not, because of the education system, we don't have enough entrepreneurships. But there's a very simple answer. Go back 300 years. Did we have schooling and education the way we do it today? No, we didn't. Did we have entrepreneurs? Yes, we did. So that asks the question then, do we need schooling or education, whatever that means, it doesn't have to be school and vast, whatever that means. If we had entrepreneurship before that, somewhere something went wrong. And that wrong, in my experience and in my view, is that, and in my personal upbringing, was that we don't teach our children anymore to go and think about why do you do things. We don't challenge them to go and do things. What we do now is we do three things. We say, number one, get good grades, whatever that means. Then you must get a good degree, whatever that means. And then find a good job. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because remember, entrepreneurs will employ people that want to work for you. And that's fine. So we don't look down on people that, I come from that environment, all of us at some point. But the challenge for us is to understand that the world that we operate in, and it's not limited to South Africa, I'm just saying that is quite an issue in South Africa. But the challenge that the world faces is we don't teach people to challenge the way things are at the moment. This example for me is fantastic. That it worked for me, it must work for somebody else. This is not something that was, wow, it was just, let me see if it can work for others as well. There's a business. We often sometimes tend to think that we must come up with this fantastic idea and then I'm going to become a millionaire. Let's be honest. The value of the rand today, not against exchange rates, just inflation. If you're a millionaire today, means nothing. A lot of us will want to have $1 million, but $1 million rand today is not going to take you far. It's not going to take you anywhere. So if you want to become a millionaire in South Africa, become a 100 million millionaire, if that makes any sense. But please, anyone here, if you're going to raise children, or your friends or your family, please don't teach them to get good marks, a good degree, and a good job. Please don't do that. And I know this is probably going to be somewhere, and I'm going to be lashed for that. I'll gladly have a cup of coffee with you.
I know the place.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I know the place.
As I said, question sparks more questions and then it just keeps going. But she had her hand so up so long ago, so please ask your question.
Hello. So I have two questions.
Name, surname, and your business.
Oh dear. Okay. My name's Kopano. I have two businesses. One is Bakeroo, and the other is tungsten transport. I was not prepared to say that all. I have two questions. The first being a pragmatic one. When is the best time to enter into an incubator program? I do not have all the stats listed in my head like Fezile does, where you can list off all the projections and all of that. And I think going into an incubator, you kind of need to have your shit together. That's my perception, right? You need to have like your ducks in a row. You need to know where everything is and how much money is coming in, how much money is going out. All this like super business savvy shit. I'm not like that. I'm the ideas man. I'm not the financial man or the I can't do that shit. So when is the time to enter into a good incubator? Second question, when is it also a good time to say that, okay, this is something I cannot do, and invite somebody else to do it? Like I said, I'm the ideas person. I'm not the technical person. I'm not the logistics person and all of that. When is it the right time to bring in somebody, even though you're not making enough to hire somebody, but to bring in somebody that will take care of the parts that you cannot take care of, the parts that you keep failing at taking care of? I hope that makes sense.
So these guys are going to be blamed that they're biased. Because he's been there and he's doing it. So before I let them loose, because they have the answer, let me just give you this piece of advice. When you're done with this, go and speak to him and ask him. That's the right time. Because it doesn't mean you're going to get into it. But if you don't speak to this guy who's running an incubator, you'll never know. So ask the incubator guy.
Oh, she's asking now, so I'll answer.
No, ask him to become part of it.
That. So, okay, firstly, different incubators focus on different things. So you'll find an incubator that's just for like solar stuff, just for energy, and you'll find incubators that only focus on female entrepreneurs. So they all have their own agenda, and that's how they try and distinguish themselves from each other. When is the right time? Immediately, whenever you're ready. But they don't all take you in. There's obviously a limited amount of resource available, so they have people in there, they have people that will assist you, and that costs money. And that money is funded through various programs, so the money does run out at some point. So they'll make a decision of, we'll only allow 12 in per year. If you don't get in the first year, cool, try next year. Learn from it. Ask them questions as to, why didn't I get in? They'll tell you, because that's why they're there. They're there to try and make you better. And then yeah, then come back next year and try again, and eventually you'll get in. When do you bring on somebody else? That's called a co-founder. Bring them in the beginning. The word is in founder. You are founding it together, so you have to bring that person in. If you can't do it on your own, then there's no business to be. The last thing, and this is maybe just a personal opinion, so don't shoot me and take it as the Bible, but especially in the beginning phase of things, they don't invest in your idea or your business because there's nothing to speak of yet. They invest in you as a person. So you need to sell yourself. If you're going to be doing CBD products, why are you doing CBD products? Heidene has a story behind why she got into it. Fezile has a story why he got to that. I did also because I've been in the payment space for, is it COVID? No. Sure. Still the voices, water. Okay, so, I mean, he can get into water right now because he was on stage one day and nearly choked, and then he come up with a device that, you know that hat that just pours the water into your face. But there has to be some sort of experience that triggers that, starts triggering the thought process around it, and then you start becoming obsessed with it. You start Googling it. You're waking up in the middle of the night, you're Googling the stuff, and you're getting all that information that you become well-versed in whatever you're doing. It can't just be an idea. That idea, it just overtakes you, it consumes you, and you have to learn more about it. The more you don't know, and the weird thing is, God's gonna send like people into your space that all of a sudden, it's like when you buy that car, right? Or you're thinking of buying that car, you never see it on the road, and then all of a sudden you're seeing blue cars that are Opels. That's gonna happen. You're just gonna start meeting everybody that can assist you along your journey on this business, and you start picking their brain and you're going for that. So for me, if there's somebody that just has an idea but they can't execute on it, I'm not going to invest in that person, unfortunately. That person, take Thomas Pace for instance, my business partner. He's a marketer. He's a marketer and he markets really well. I'm a software developer with 7 years experience in the payments industry. So we start a payments company together. To the outsider, it looks like this guy's riding off of my knowledge and everything, and then he's just marketing this business. No, he was very hungry for that. He saw the idea, he saw what it could become, and started building on it, and he had that vision looking forward into it. And he kept on picking my brain, he kept on meeting different people to a point where, I mean, he wouldn't go on stage and discuss certain things because he felt he didn't know the industry well enough. But 7 years down the line, he goes on to radio, he goes on to platforms, he can speak that because he's learned the industry through the time. And if you meet him, you'll understand why. Because the guy is hungry for knowledge. If he becomes obsessed by something, he's going to become the greatest at it ever. That's it. If he decides to take on golf tomorrow, he's going to be the best golfer. That's how he is. And you pick it up from his personality. And that's what the venture capitalist is going to look for in what we call, your idea phase is called the pre-seed phase. Seed would be that first small amount that you get to start your business. But that pre-seed phase, it's you and you alone. Forget your idea, forget your business. There's nothing to speak about there.
Awesome. Did you get your answer, Ms. Kopano? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
And just to add on to that, sorry, Mr. MC.
No issues.
Yes, one of the incubators that I went through was actually won by our government, the NYDE. Yes, the NYDE is sponsored by our government. And actually it was quite good. It was very brief. It was a week long, but it was great in giving me that initial exposure because, again, when you're starting out business and you have nothing, no experience, no prior knowledge to draw from, as in like a parent who was in business, an aunt or whatever. If you're starting it out on your own, there's a lot of naivety in your situation, your position at that point in time. That's realistic, right? You don't know what you don't know, and that was the first one that was critical in opening my eye to a lot of things. And to date, the first thing that I learned there was the importance of costing, because one of the case studies that we did there was, Magubane, how they've always been R1 for the longest of time. you know. But then they did a case study to see that, well, in actual fact, most traders, most people who are selling magwenya, they're circulating their money back. You're not making a profit. You know, you're buying stock, and then you start trading, and the money that you get back is to buy the same stock. But you're living hand to mouth, and you're not even aware of it. So it's important. So I'm leading to the, I don't know this business shit, you know. There are certain things that you unfortunately need to know. And one of the things that I recommend is knowing how to do an income statement, or at least understanding an income statement, because at the heart of it, what we're all doing as an entrepreneur, you are solving one problem, which is how do I take X amount of money and get and trade either services or a product and get X amount of profit. That's what we're doing at the heart of it. So you need to really understand that. One, it is your money. Two, it is someone else's money. So the context is different, but at the end of the day, you're doing one thing. So I'd advise that at least you invest in that. And then other things, it'll take time. But yeah, so the NYDE, that program, that was good. You start by getting the first seed, 10,000 Rand, to invest in your idea or business if you're selected. And then the next one, 50,000 Rand. And then, but obviously the selection criteria gets more stringent as you go up. But that's one that you can start with.
Awesome stuff. I didn't know that on the invitation we needed to put an age restriction, 16L. But we keep moving, all of us, well, we understand. And Ms. Kopano, you did get your answers, yes? She said hell yes, and she even got more than what she bargained for. So thank you so much to all of our responders. And on to our next two questions. We have the lady here at the back and Mr. Odwa, who will come next. So may I please take her question, see how she says. Please, your name and your business.
Hi, everyone, can you hear me? My name is Kay Letlhogonolo. I own Black and Marketing and another one called Beauty Cravings. So my question, I've always been into business. I've always had businesses. I had a recruitment company for some time, but I was always working because my dad always just felt like this entrepreneur thing is just not for us. And it was always discouraging. So I always left. Every time he encouraged me to get a new job, there was more pay, he'd be like, well, this business is not working out. Until I decided it's been 2 years now, listen, this is what I love doing. I love creating. I love, you know, what I'm doing now, and that's what I'm gonna do. But I don't have a support system at all. So every time my dad sees me, regardless of me paying my bills right now with my business and still maintaining sort of the life, not, you know, exactly, but sort of the life I had, he still puts me down. And this is like all family, because this is how we were raised. So what kind of support system? I know we have our, you know, you guys, we come here to the tribe, but you guys are not there every day. So in how you created your businesses and how they, you know, a success right now, who is that like one person, and what kind of person do you need in your life to have?
Well, who has the answer? Fezile has the answer. May I quickly ask if Heidene has the answer? Heidene has the answer. Let's give Heidene first, then we'll move to Fezile's response as well.
Okay, well, first I'll say have a cup of tea every day.
That's called marketing.
Well, just to add to what the gentleman said up there, you have, and something you said earlier, you have to have your a relationship with your spiritual self. You know, that's vital, I think, for anybody who has a business going, or just anybody generally. You know, your faith is very important. And the way you look after yourself is important, whether you have that one person that is your person or not. I would like to think that everybody has a best friend, you know, a brother or a sister, whether by blood or not by blood. But I think because we are South Africans, spiritualism plays a big part in our life, whether you are Christian or Muslim or Buddhist or whatever, you know, faith is faith at the end of the day. So that is very important for all of us. And maybe it's good that he doesn't support you, because that gives you even more reason to believe in what it is that you're doing, you know, and look at it that way. But rejection is, for me, what I found it, because I get a lot of that as well. I've used it as power, you know, and it's a driving force, especially on those bad days. You know, it makes me sit in front of my computer even more, and it makes me have a point to prove that I'm going to show you, I'm going to make this work. Okay?
No.
That's the bottom line. You don't want me to make it, I'm gonna show you I'm gonna make it.
Thank
Okay.
you, thank you. Wow, yeah, Fezile.
Cool. So, look, I mean, the reality is, you need to look to yourself. You know, I mean, if you know that nobody owes you anything, and I mean, it may sound bad, like your parents literally just brought you into this world, the rest is up to you. You really just have to look at yourself as that source of inspiration. I mean, that's what I do for myself. Like, my parents, well, my parent now, but they barely know the stuff that I do, because I know that they won't get it as much as the academics, you know? So you don't want to have that fight. You want to have a certain conversation with your parents and keep it there. Your siblings, keep it there. But regarding what you're trying to build, it's literally all you, nobody else. Like, you speak Zulu, right? I've been in Daba, man. Khohla isn't his name. Akunamuntu okolota fuck all. It's literally you and the world and your dreams. That's it. But I advise as well, find somebody to speak to once a week. Not a therapist, somebody. Therapists tend to, you know, you need a certain type of conversation when you're trying to build something. Not for therapeutic reasons. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Please, the gentleman behind you has a response, or do you also have a response or have a question? Okay, let's hear my brother and then we'll come to you.
Yes, to sort of dovetail from what my brother just said, as much as you go around trying to get people to fund you and all these incubation programs, it is also very important for you to look for a mentor that believes in you, that wants the best from you. I'm a hugger, I'm addicted to hugs. I love affirmation. So at the end of the day, as much as I want funding, I also want somebody that can stand with me. And in my walk, I found people along the way that have believed in me without wanting anything back. And there are good people out there. And so those closest to you, if they can't promote or support you, there is somebody out there. Just keep looking. As much as you're looking for money, also look for that emotional support. It is so key for your progress.
Then please pass it to 2 people down your left.
Hi guys.
Yes, who are you? Yes, who are we speaking to, Ghost?
Okay, you speaking to QC Lambiton. I own a digital creative company, and I'm privileged enough to be working with one of the gentlemen on stage, David Weideman, for the last few years, and I am in good hands.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to Haga. My name is Odwa, so there's a couple of things that I do on the side, but I also, I'm with a couple of friends and we're trying to start up a hedge fund. You know, one of the things that I've done is very practical. I come to the soft grind and bother Lee. To the point whereby I've gotten a 5% discount on all my coffees.
He does, guys, like you don't understand. But it's all welcome. It's all lovely.
You know, so I'm just saying that, you know, to all the people that want support, chats and everything, Some of us are always here. We are always around. Zina, there's a lot of us, you know, who have been at this journey. So we come and we have coffee, we bump into each other. I mean, I remember the other day I had a difficult negotiation in Nigeria. I was speaking about it to Lee, and he was telling me how to approach it, you know. I mean, which is great. I mean, I think in our second, the tribe, you know, David, I wanted to say this because David said something to me that resonates with me, you know. One of our basic principles as a business, me and my co-founders, is that we want to be completely self-funded. We're not looking for money from anyone, but we're looking for ideas in how we can grow our business. So, and what David said, you know, which I think is the truth, if you're coming to the tribe to ask for money, or you are looking for money, then you're probably at the wrong place. It was very harsh on the day, you know. Leah, I'm sure we probably lost a couple of attendees after that talk.
Actually.
I am described as the cross one.
But to what Fezile was saying, you know, I always say, you know, there's a saying that I always say to my group or to my co-founders, never miss a good crisis. So he's talking about the trough. So you can, believe it or not, we're a bunch of professionals. We love what we do. And I'm happy that David is here, you know, because every time when you meet a bunch of entrepreneurs and then you tell them, I actually love my professional job. And, you know, they look at you funny and you say, but I can still be the greatest lawyer there is out there and still do my other side hustles as Mitch has said, you know, the goal is to be the best at what you do. So we are all co-founders. We want to be the best at what we do. And so that's why we are sticking to our jobs and we are doing what we're doing at the same time. So I wanted to go back to the saying is that never miss a good crisis. So David said there that, you know, if in South Africa you have R1 million today, you're practically poor. So because we own a hedge fund, we're going through what we call a trough. The rand, I don't know if I can use this word, has gone to shit. Our portfolio is red.
It's part of our vocabulary now.
No, our portfolio is red. We're making huge losses. But, you know, in one of our meetings with my co-founders, I said, I think it was on Tuesday, I said, guys, this is an opportunity for us to buy more, you know, because we believe in this thing. So if it's about making money, and it's not about the vision and where you want to see yourself, because we don't have an end game. We don't have an end game. What we're doing is building a company that will be sustainable, that will create generational wealth. And the other thing that I think people often make mistakes is that we think that we have to have a brilliant idea. We have to have, you need to be an entrepreneur to actually make a business, you know? But it's not so. There are people who are brilliant here. You have your Mitches and your whatever. I was looking at, for example, ARC. ARC owns Time Bank, and Time Bank has been identified as one of the unicorns in Africa. You know, it's going to reach $1 billion valuation. Do you know how much a Time Bank, an ARC share is? In order for you to have equity in Time Bank, it's 6 rand. One share is 6 rand. So to be an entrepreneur and to see where you want to go, you know, I've always said it. I've said it at varsity. I'm going to make money off entrepreneurs. That's my entrepreneurship.
Mr. Otto, thank you so much. Ms. K at the back, did you get your response? Stay strong, my sister. It's a very lonely journey, and you must be a very strong person to take it on. Very strong, and make sure that you're not alone. So, here's what I would like to propose in terms of continuation, right? Because we are behind time now. We are behind time because we are scheduled 2 hours, and I'm trying very, very much not to be African about it and make sure that we stick to it. I would like to take any other questions that the people have. And then what we will do is that with those questions, they will be the platform for the next tribe meeting that we will have on the 26th of May. The questions never run out because more questions breed more answers, which breed more questions, and it's just a long, beautiful cycle. So, if anyone still has more questions, please, by all means, ask your questions and we will jot them down. And please make sure that you are there on the next tribe so that you can get your answers from our panelists. So, questions. We have one question. We have two questions. Is it a question?
What happened was that I had an idea that I wanted to start a foundation for women. So with every lady that came into the shop, because I work here, by the way, I'm the waitress here.
What's your name?
Oh, sorry. My name is Fezile Dhlamini, and I have a business. It's Parade. I make clothes, comfortable clothes for women who are suffering from big breasts. So I make comfortable clothes. Okay, so what happened was that I thought of this foundation and how we could reach out to all the young people, all the young women that don't have access to pads, mentorship, and everything. So every lady that literally came in the shop, I was here to welcome them. And I sold this idea until this one day, a lady came and sat down there. She said to me, here I am selling the idea to her. Oh, I want to do this. I want to get pads. I want to get mentorship. She was like, have you registered your foundation? I'm like, register foundation? How? You know? And that's when I went home and then I thought about it and it was like, we want the support, but you don't have anything. Everything is just in your head. You are telling someone something that you haven't even done. You haven't bought like 5 pads in Pick and Pay and given them to women out there, you know, to show that you really want to do this. So sometimes the people you want support from, they want to see you actually do the work first before they can help you with anything. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you to our barista, Ms. Teliwe. She's such a lovely employee of the company. Love coming here because of her. And just goes to show that you don't have only support from people who are in the tribe, you have support from people who are behind the bars, they make your coffee. So do make sure that you come here as often as you can, and all these bright minds will be here. Because at the end of the day, conversation is a manifestation. The moment you say something, it is out there and therefore it is done. It won't happen now. It might happen in 5 years' time, but the mere fact that you voiced it out means that it has happened. So with everyone you have conversations with, be pure and intentional about them and speak your ideas into life with that person. Believe me, if they believe they can steal your idea, they won't, because they don't have the same passion as you, they don't have the same execution as you. So word your wishes whenever you get the opportunity to whomever you speak to, because some of them might plug you to things that you didn't know either. So Ceci, welcome to the Soft Grind and welcome to the tribe. So, we have a question that we will jot down for our next meeting.
Okay, my name is Kathy. I've been an entrepreneur for 7 years previously in my life, and I went back to corporate, and I was an executive until 2 weeks ago in one of the companies, so I left to do exactly what I did previously, which is consulting in healthcare programs and healthcare financing. And one of the things I was thinking of in the past week and a half that I've decided to leave my job, and the why, by the way, why I left my job, it's a lifestyle issue, and I just want my freedom. I want to do what I want to do whenever I can, and I want to determine what I should live on a month-to-month basis and how much I can save. And I cannot do that in a corporate world. I've been there for over 25 years and I'm done. So now, one of the things that went through my mind was, when I listened to everybody speak here today, is that all the ideas are so original. So my question then is, what is your take on the franchising opportunity, and how can you relate that to incubation? Or do you think it's probably the easiest way out that people are looking for? And I mean, we've had some of them coming and going and some of them collapsing. And I have also a very great understanding and appreciation that to make money, you need to find some societal problem or something. When you resolve it, even if your reputation was not as good as whatever, but if you present your solution for a critical issue in society, you might find somebody who can just take that and brush it up for you to attract the money that you need. Am I correct? So you need to solve a problem to be successful, I think.
No, thank you. So may you please repeat your name for us, my sister?
My name is Kathy.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kathy, asking about the problem of franchising. And with the time that we have, it is extremely limited because it's 15 minutes to 9. You know, it's 15 minutes to 9 and Fezile is begging me, saying, please, panelists, are you in agreement or must we take the answer from Fezile?
Just before he goes, I just want everybody to know this has been live streamed. It's all on camera, does the camera. But it is being recorded as well, so you can share with people. We'll share the link as well, you can share it. There's going to be the other event on the last Thursday of this month, which is the 26th. So bring more friends if you feel that this is going to work out for them, if they need the support as well. We want to grow this a bit more. After this networking, we're not just going to send you guys away. There's a guy that's going to play some beats. There's still some more food, some more drinks, and we can network and still ask questions amongst each other. Okay. So you don't have to get all your words out right now, Fezile, but if you feel you want to do it right now, okay.
Mr. Dhlamini,
so I mean, I just wanted to say that, like, there's no better time to be a woman, like, literally in entrepreneurship, and that's because there's so many funds that are dedicated to women. So if you want to get into the franchising space, I actually helped someone last year navigate the National Empowerment Fund. So if you're a woman, there's literally a fund for women. It will help you to get the funding that you need for your next franchising opportunity. The cap is about 20 million rand. Trust me, when you're a woman, this is the best time to get funding. That's all I wanted to say. It's not an easy way out. The reality about franchising is that you're helping someone else build their dream. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like renting out your property. Do you understand? Yeah. So if you feel like you can't come up with something new, rather find an opportunity, solve that problem, and then make your money. Boom.
Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Great time to be a woman. Thank you for that plug. Thank you, Fezile. You've been a star. The Lawrences, you guys have been awesome. The panelists have been great. And all of you with your engagement to what has been, what I believe, a very fruitful discussion for everyone involved has been awesome, because we had an array of things we needed to cover. Because we needed to show that it's not just your studies that determine where you'll end up. Someone studies micromolecular biology, and they become a business owner of the coffee shop. Someone has been venturing and doing businesses, doing other things, and then all of a sudden, they find their hub in helping other people come out. After decades and decades of work and pounding and pounding, it shows that age is nothing but just a number when you are 53 years old and decide that it's time for me to venture on by myself. Case study, KFC is a very good example for that as well with Colonel Sanders. So we wanted to show that to you. We wanted to show that the self-belief is necessary, making sure that no one is taking you off the tracks that you've built for yourself. We wanted to show that you must be able to back what you're talking about and stand for it and negotiate for it and take it to the new levels that we wanted. And this is what our panelists brought onto the floor. And we hope that you were able to take the information and process it and, well, mold it into who you are and what you are. And because what we wanted to show you this afternoon or this evening was how you can cross over from your everyday job into your business and what it needs, not just from a financial backing or from an academic backing, but from an internal backing, which is the most important thing. Because if your mind is not there, and if your heart is not there, your spirit is not there, things just will not align, unfortunately. So, with that being said, Mitchan Adams, Letlhogonolo Motsuenyane, David Weideman, Mpendulo Magubane, we have been here to bring you The Tribe, our third installment, and we hope that you got everything that you wanted. Yay! Now, the time everyone has been waiting for to go drink and to go eat and to talk their lungs away without having to respect the person on the mic. Now it's the time for that to happen. There's some beats with our DJ. And as Mitch said, you can find this on YouTube. We will post the link, share it with your friends. They might have something to learn from this as well, even if they are not entrepreneurs, but from just their internal selves for them to be better at what they're doing. This might help them. Pass that on. And then the last little surprise that we have for you, because we love you, it's the soft grind. If you take your name tag, you will see that at the back of your name tag, there is a stamp which has the soft grind sign on it. Right, it's not there just to show that, yeah, you belong here, but because you have taken your time to come to the tribe and share the ideas, we want you to come back to the soft grind and experience it for what it truly is. A hub for people to work, a hub for people to connect, and a hub for people to enjoy cups of coffee and their meals. So, between Monday and Friday, that little sticker behind your badge gives you either a free cappuccino or a free golden latte. Trust me, golden latte looks weird because it's yellow, but it's completely tasty. It's so gorgeous. Trust and believe. So if you're going to come into the shop during business hours just to have a catch up with your friend, go to the bar and whip out your name tag with that stamp, and you can get yourself either a cappuccino or a golden latte for absolutely free, or rather for 2 hours, which you've spent with us here tonight. So without further ado, it has been me, Mpendulo Magubane, hosting my very first event, and it has been The Tribe, brought to you by The Soft Grind. So thank you so much. Big round of applause to everybody. And now, do enjoy the rest of your evening. It has been awesome. Thank you so much, guys.